You seem bothered by something.
How did we get here?
A CDMP TV and film presentation from Crazy D, the mind who brings you the Black Ice Chronicles, the Females DVD, and Situations DVD, brings you The Shifter. It's Halloween night at Crazy D's, and a pesky vamp is out for blood. Beware of the Shifter.
That's it. You gotta go beat it damn scram, man. Damn.
Why don't you be a doll and find me a place to change? I need a place to change my clothes before I go.
What? Don't try to hold me on the phone.
D, you been holding out on me?
No, I was just about to stop and help. You know I help the crackheads, D.
Some people just don't have originality with their outfits.
It's like I hear voices in my head talking to me and shit.
I saw that punk ass Charles Pippen and his cousin leaving here.
I learned the grace pose. Get your camera ready.
We're here, like we said, for trick or treat. Crazy, what did you see? You seem bothered by something.
You see that shit?
Yeah, that crazy fuck in there. I don't know what the fuck that was for.
Right.
Shit.
Can't stand that shit.
Well, who's the pet bitch?
Like,
What the fuck was she mean? Oh, I saw her to scratch that poke that bitch eye.
Beware of the Shifter. Be at the premiere if you dare.
Are you gonna listen to the move?
I've been out the loop since '09.
Yeah, I'll be back to get at that, though. Check this. I'm at the motherfucking house last night. Guess what the fuck I see?
What you see?
Shamika, what's up?
Fuck you think you fucking with? It's Maxwell, bitch!
Fuck you in them shoes.
Bitch, I'm about to stalk you with these shoes.
I thought I told you to get a jump to Crazy D.
I did give it to Crazy D. You know, D, you must have seen money in that. You know, he used to produce those nudie DVDs.
Fuck you, thin man. I know you did it.
Don't let your mouth write a check, cause I will take it out on your ass. Damn, man. You serious?
I don't appreciate being roughed up by men, or should I say, male bitches.
Yeah, you gonna work out.
And we look for young ladies like you to host them.
I look like somebody that can host your videos.
That's right. So go change, cause we ain't got all day.
Get off the her.
Pretty good, though. What's on that bullshit?
Crazy. What the hell? How you in my room?
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people.
Here's the thing about your movie, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe. Community, heart,
What's going on, people? What's going on with this image right now? Welcome to another great episode. It is Monday, and I've got snow, and I'm trying to figure out how I have snow, but that's of no accord, no problem to you. Welcome to hashtag ObservationTFR by Crazy D with my special guest host, my sister Tanya. How you doing this morning? Let's check out the mics and everything.
Testing 1 2. How's it sound? Cool. So, good morning, everybody. This is another robust week of hashtag ObservationsTFR. I hope that you guys had a chance to check out TFR, hashtag TFR yesterday on Sunday at 5:30 Pacific time and 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, where D and his wife Tracy were going over music, culture, politics, and more. They covered a lot of things about some of the series that are on currently, and they gave you some insight and some overview over those. I hope you guys are checking those out. They're very informative and give you an idea and a direction on what to turn your dial to, as opposed to just searching at random for something good to watch. So they've had a chance to look at these things, and then they give you a little synopsis of what's going on with them. But I'm doing good this morning. I had some last minute debaucheries here. I have, first of all, I need some wire, those wire cord things that organizes the wires that you get from Micro Center or something like that, because I have a lot of equipment and stuff, and I just so happen to not have fed my foot pedal, my sustain pedal for my keyboard around the back like I should have. So a lot of the cord is in front. So I went to get up, and in my effort not to trip over the cord for my headphones, my other shoe was caught in the wire for the sustain pedal. So I get up, and I saw myself on the way down. Ain't nothing I could do but just go ahead and let the fall happen. You know what I'm saying? And then try to, make sure I land in a place that's not going to be injurious to me. Because, see, I used to laugh when I fell, but this stuff ain't funny no more, because it's not funny. The only thing I can laugh about is how I might have looked going down. But I was like, when I got down there, I was like, ooh, well, I'm down here now. And I had something in my hand. I had a dish in my hand. And so the thing is, I had the my headphones and everything hooked up, so D heard it, and it's all loud, of boom, 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 boom. They probably heard that outside. So he's like, "What was that noise?" And I'm hearing him talking through my headphones, right? And what's that noise? Are you all right? What's happening? So I was like, I'm fine. I had to get in the camera and let him know I'm doing all right. I'm up and good. Because, when you get older, a little bit older, I'm not old. Let's get that straight. I'll never be old. But when you get a little bit older, fall is not any fun anymore. It's not funny. So, I had to let him know I was okay. But, and then when I got back in here, just before the broadcast started, my mirror fell, all this stuff fell, and there was another crash. I was surprised you didn't hear that. I said, oh my goodness, is this how Monday is going to be? Monday? But no, the day is what you make it. My day is not going to start out like that. But today, I have mangoes, and of course my ginger. And also today I have barley water, just clouded water, because barley water. So what you do is 2 tablespoons of barley in an 8-ounce glass. I had 2 8-ounce jars. So 2 tablespoons of barley, and let it sit overnight. And then what it does is it flushes your system out, especially if you have any water retention or any things like that, it really, really, really does help with that. Without you, it's really weird how it works because you don't have to go to the bathroom a lot, but it takes down that, it gets rid of whatever the salt is holding. It starts getting rid of that. So it's a very good thing. Very inexpensive too.
You know, it's strange. I mean, I think it's the alignment of the stars, because yesterday I was washing dishes and I went to pour the water out of the pan and it was a plate in the sink, and for some reason, this has never happened to me before, and the water hit the plate and splashed up on my pan. Wet my pants all up. I said, man, something's wrong. Then I was turning around to cook, because I cook and do all of that at the same time. I clean up as I go. And I'm turning around, and I go to cut open a pack, and some of the stuff just spilled. I'm like, what is going on? So it's something that's going on with the alignment of the stars. But I have my apple today to keep the doctor away. I have some mixed vegetables and some grapes this morning. What a show we have for you. Let me shout out first and send dropouts to the people who are watching us on Periscope, Vimeo, FB, and the Film Review Live channel. Go right over to the Film Review Live channel on YouTube right now. Smash subscribe, smash like, because we have a great show. Tag your people in it, and all of the other platforms that we're on. Follow, like, friend, all of that, because we want to stay in contact with you. What is our topic today? Our topic... Oh, wait. She wants to add something?
Before you move on, I just want to let the people know, and I want to let you know, when stupid stuff like that starts happening, what I learned was the full moon is close by. It is close by. It has been my history over the last at least 7 or 8 years since I've been paying attention to it. Then when these little debaucheries start, the full moon is close by. And guess what? The full moon is October 31st. October 31st.
So not only does October 31st fall on a Saturday, and it won't fall on a Saturday again until 20, where's my sheet? I'll be able to tell you real fast. It won't fall on a Saturday again. Let's see my fun facts about Halloween. We talked about it yesterday. It won't fall on Halloween again until 2032. I'll be 61 years old. 2032. It won't fall on Saturday again. So enjoy this Saturday, people. We know we have COVID, but enjoy it, because you won't be able to have that day off after your children go trick-or-treating, or if you want to go to Halloween parties, until 2032, right? But what is our topic for the day? Snap, turkey jams, Toni, possibilities and probabilities. Smash the share, smash the like, smash the subscribe button on the Film Review Live channel, because we're going to be talking about music industry today. As we move into an uncertain fall and winter season, we discuss possibilities and probabilities in the music industry. What makes close calls and what makes sheer misses, and is it divine intervention that keeps one away from the probability of possibility coming into a bad situation? Have we been cheated out of verses that would have been set down in history as all time? Let's discuss. 213-943-3358. So for all those, last week we discussed the Busta Rhymes challenge to T.I., right? We discussed that. And within that weekend, an answer was given, but it wasn't given to that particular challenge. Instead, it was given to and answered to Jeezy, right, by T.I. Jeezy had asked, why do you continue to ignore my challenge for Verzuz? I've challenged you a few times and you have continued to ignore my challenges. So T.I. accepted Jeezy's call out, his challenge, and that will be the next Verzuz battle that comes on. Now, for people who don't know what Verzuz is, who it is, it's Timberland and Swiss Beats, and they came up with this ingenious idea on how to honor people who have had a longevity and made a career and left a legacy within the music industry. If it be R&B, jazz, well, they haven't done jazz, R&B, rhythm and blues, soul, and especially hip hop, where both of those producers come from. That's what they've done. So the second topic, which we're going to hit off first, is the Verzuz battle that came from the Verzuz battle that never was. So, for those who are not familiar, Busta Rhymes called out T.I. T.I. used, in our opinion, we talked about it on Friday, he used Willie Lynch. He said, basically, you're too old, man. You're too old, and why would I deal with an old person when I, such and such and so half a dozen of one thing, half a dozen another, right? So he used Willie Lynch. And I thought then, and I still think now, that is cheating the fans. So I did some research. About solo careers, right? So I looked up Busta Rhymes, because Busta Rhymes did come out with Leaders of the New School first, but then he went solo, right? With his first album, The Coming. It came out in 96, right? T.I. came out the decade later in 2001 with I'm Serious. That's his first album. Jeezy came out with Let's Get It, Thug Motivation 101 in 2005. And ask me what I discovered about years in this. Ask me what I discovered about years in this, Tanya.
What did you discover about years in this?
I discovered that it's only a 5-year difference between when Busta Rhymes came out with his solo album and when T.I. came out with his solo album, but there's only 4 years between T.I. and Jeezy. So it's just 1 year difference as far as what we're talking about as being solo acts, and this is what Busta Rhymes will be dealing with his extensive catalog, right? So in actuality, because I always thought that T.I. was older than Jeezy as far as artist years was concerned, right? If we're looking at artist years, then actually Jeezy should be saying the same thing that T.I. said about Busta Bus, that, by when you came out, but we're talking about solo act, right? That's just like, and I saw people taking T.I.'s side on it, and I was looking at it was a DJ who, I respect his abilities on the ones and twos. That's just like someone saying, oh, you can't battle against this guy that does turntablism and can blend because you're 15 years older than him and you can't really do it. Because you're 15 years, you're like in a whole nother decade, so you should stick to Grandmaster Flash and all them because you're 15 years older than this guy. That makes no sense in hip hop whatsoever. 213-943-3358. Smash the share button, smash the like button. It does not make any sense. Using Willie Lynch, and we talked about Willie Lynch last week. You have to go back. We're moving forward. We're not going to go back and discuss it again, but we discussed it in 43. So go back and read the Willie Lynch letter, or the Willie Lynch instruction to slave owners in the United States, right? It makes no sense. Hip hop is a genre like jazz, like blues, like soul music, that if your pipes, if you can still sing it and belt it out. Nancy Wilson kept singing on. Lady Day kept singing on, and she would have kept singing on until it was her time. Unfortunately, it was her time to go, and so she left. So it is like that. It's like being a poet, being an MC. Poet Sonia Sanchez is still doing poetry right now and still respected. Hip hop is, if you can go, you can still go, you can still catch the beat, you can still catch the rhythm. DJing is if you can still cut, blend with speed and accuracy. It doesn't matter how old you are. This is hip hop music. And so, due to T.I. using Willie Lynch, we have missed one of the greatest verses that would have went down as all time. What you got to say to that?
You know, there's so much history and so much richness in what you're talking about, and to reflect back to what you just said about T.I. and the difference between the years between him and Jeezy, and in the time that T.I. put his album out and when Busta Rhymes put his album out. See, it's true, in art, there is no age cap. In art, there's no age cap, but you have differences of administrations or differences of expression, but there is no age cap in art. And so for T.I. to have said, I mean, we know what the deal really is, because you described it on the show in your experience with Busta Rhymes, and then I spoke to someone else after the show who said, yeah, you know, dude is a beast, and he's taking over wherever he goes to. Well, I mean, you know, if he's allowed to, see, you know, he has that rambunctious personality. So a lot of times when you come with that is intimidating by itself before you even get to expressing your art. When you come in a room and you take it over, like, you know, you have it like that, that is intimidating for a lot of people, as a lot of people are not like that, or they don't have that kind of boldness to express that part of their personality. But you did mention that he was a Taurus person. That's pretty characteristic of us. You know, we go in places, and even if we're not exhibiting that we own the place, we basically, when we walk in, it's like, okay, this is my domain until I leave, you know. So he's coming in with that in full force. So I would say that fear is the main motivator of T.I.'s comments, because he was going to get murdered. You know, he was going to get murdered.
So we have Jeezy now and T.I., and they're going to be doing the Verzuz battle, right? It's weird because we didn't really discuss this on the show, but it doesn't matter what era you come in, hip hop has certain kingdoms, right?
Mm-hmm.
The South has a kingdom that's running it right now, right? Then they have various lords and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. New York has a kingdom. The West Coast has a kingdom. The Midwest has kingdoms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within the Midwest. And so when you look at it, the 5 boroughs of New York are each a kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Then you have the tri-state area that has various kingdoms, and within there are kings, lords, etc., right? When you say that you are the king of the South, and you have gone through all of the competition in the South, and they have said, yeah, we like what you do, you can have that moniker, you are the king of the South. When another king challenges you but Busta Rhymes said that he's a god, though, a god in hip-hop, not just a king. But when another king challenges you to a battle, and you have purposefully kind of like nudged at the bear with a stick saying NYC, NYC, NYC. When they come, you don't know which king or which lord or which god is coming, but they're going to be coming, and once you nudge it, you don't, I mean, you can do what you like, but when you nudge at it, and then it comes to you, you're supposed to answer the challenge, because this is hip hop. And T.I. is a damn good hip hop artist. Like he did his trap music, and he brought a new sound. You know, some would say that was the sound that was going, and he was the one who pushed through with it first. That was the one that was going on in Atlanta, and he pushed through with it first. But he is a damn good hip hop lyricist. His syntax, the way that he puts words together, is clever, and his presence on stage is dominant. So when it came time for a Verzuz, which is supposed to be a celebration of people's careers, and he was nudging at 50 cents and he was nudging at the East, then he should have answered, because each one has a kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. Multiple kingdoms, right? Within that particular body of land or a source, especially when hip hop came from there. So to not answer the challenge and then to go here, and we've known it, people who are hip to Atlanta and the King of the South title and all that has ran between these two before, and that had been laid down, so to speak. Not to answer that call and to go here is not a good, it doesn't bode well for Southern hip hop. That's just my opinion, my observation of on the outside of it, you know, but with immersed in the culture still, that is not a good look for Southern hip hop. Because if Busta Bus had come and challenged Snoop, and Snoop had already been in there, Snoop would have answered the challenge. Right. Snoop would have had a whole addition, because his catalog is vast. He would have had 20 more different songs than what he did versus DMX. You understand what I'm saying? He would have answered the call to that challenge to be on Verzuz, right? So we have been cheated out of a Verzuz that would have gone down as one of the all-time greats. Funkmaster Flex is getting it, T.I. All of this is a bad look, because this is hip hop. That's what it is. And hip hop is about, I rap better than you, and because I rap better than you, I'm flyer than you, I got the flyer whips than you, I dress better than you, my stage show is better than you, and I'm able to take your girl at the end of the night because of it, if not before. That's what hip hop is about. And he should have answered the call. Let's start with some memes before we get to the road to the main discussion for this morning and this afternoon. Let's start right here. Most rappers already made a hit song. They just didn't promote it right, so it doesn't blow up. 213-943-3358. Most rappers already made a hit song. They just didn't promote it right, so it doesn't blow up, right? Because it usually takes, if you're really pushing a record, you're continuing and recording, but actually if you're independent, usually it takes about 3 years for a record to actually pop, because you got to build it, you got to break through your hometown's reluctance to love you, to like you. You got to cajole and hem up the radio people to play your record. The director of the program director at the radio station to put your music in rotation, not just they just okay. You got to have a banging video that people can see, right? So we're laying out some things, but usually it's a 3-year trek. And in between, what happens is people start to believe that their stuff is old. That's why they keep on recording more. And of course, creativity makes you record more. But really, if you have a single that you believe in, you have to keep banging that out, keep placing it on the new stuff that you have, keep banging that out for at least a 3-year situation, right? That's usually how that works, and it's nothing if you're independent, right? So some of the things that you hear, especially back in the 90s and going into the 2000s, when you heard something and you thought it was a new sound, it was something that was old to where it came from most of the time. Here's another meme. DJ Scratch. I left DJ Scratch names in there. He's a great turntablist as well as blender, cutter, scratcher. If you learned every scratch and juggle, but never learn how to DJ in a room full of people that want to dance, then you have missed the main part of being a DJ. That is correct. And I remember when DJ Scratch was DJing for Rakim, we got the exclusive interview with Rakim when I was shooting freelance for the radio station, but I also got footage on DJ Scratch, and one of the DJs that was up there from the radio station, he said that DJ, because he was seeing DJ Scratch do his thing, juggling records and cutting and scratching and doing his routine, and he was like, I think I'm out of place. I don't think I should be up here. And DJ Scratch came over to him when he was warming up, like waiting for as the crowd was coming in, and he told him, man, the way you mix and blend, that is excellent. You are dope, right? And he said that coming from DJ Scratch saying that with all the ability, and he told me, he said, I didn't think I belonged up here with what you doing. He said, man, what you doing moves the crowd. You know what I mean? What you gotta say to that?
I was just gonna insert, request to insert a comment. As a person who is at a party or something like that, see, the cutting and scratching is percussive. It's percussive. So when you got a beat going, so, I'm a musician, but I might be at a party in the capacity of a person that's at a party. I'm not there as a musician. However, my musician ears are always on. So if the music is bumping, that bass is bumping, you in the flow, and you choosing, first of all, the right choice, the right record selection, the right one to blend into the one before it. Because you keeping the party going, you keeping people on the floor. And so by the time you start blending, DJs who know how to superimpose, that's where, if I could put it in a visual, that's where you lay something on top of the other and it blends well, and you can't, it's a seamless operation. You can see there's a difference in pattern, but there is no break. So a DJ who can take two records, the right two records, or the right chain of records, or list of records, or playlist, and then blend them in, superimpose it. Sometimes a superimposition can make a different chord progression in between the song. I mean, it's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of respect to be given. It is just like a musician learning how to play any other instrument. Those turntables are an instrument, and there's an expertise and a level of practice that brings a person to be one over the other. That's how I had different DJs that were favorites. Like in my city, in Cleveland, Ohio, you had Bud McFarlane would keep you, and Bud McFarlane is an older dude now, but he could still get on those tables and blend. He wasn't much of a scratcher or anything like that, but he can blend some records. Then you had other DJs in the city, D being one of them, and then my other favorite was DJ L-Dog. They had a thing for superimposition. They had a thing for blending. They had a thing for scratching, cutting, and percussively and precise. See, there's a precision in the cutting. There's a lot going on those turntables. There's a precision. I used to hear my brother in the basement. He practiced his craft. So he earned his stripes because he practiced his craft. He was not lazy. He was not lazy. He'd be down there. He'd be down there all day long. All day long. When he wasn't, if he was getting prepared for a gig, he was down there blending and mixing. And I was like, man, wow. Wow. So he was more dedicated to his tables than I was to my keyboard. He was. And so consequently, he reaped the fruit of that harvest. You know, so you can tell people who put their work in, you can tell, and it also takes what makes one over the other one. What puts one over the top of another one is their natural, this what's coming from inside them naturally as well. The ideas of what to do, the ideas of what records, that comes from the inside. So, and you got somebody who's mastered all of that stuff at one time, all that technique, all that skill, all that precision, that means a lot on that dance floor. When they get you, when you dancing, so you in the groove, they got it going, they got then you start hearing them blend in the next record. You know what I'm saying? And you in it, you doing your thing, you all the way in it, and then they get to cutting, and then it's the rhythm of the cut, and you like, oh, then it just make you, then you start making that funk face. You making faces while you jamming in. Oh my goodness. Oh.
Yeah. You know, for me, I have two favorites in particular, right? From the Cleveland market, and then I have a favorite here in Las Vegas. All the Cleveland DJs, when they get to the level of throwing at parties and releasing their own mix cassettes back in the day, and mix CDs, now mix digitals, right? When they get to that level, they are Cleveland DJs, I'm telling you, because the mixing has to be like this, because you're blending two beats together, right? Making a new beatscape. That's what I call it, making new beatscapes. So they have to be tight because people are bumping the bass in their cars, so the bass has to connect, and the knocking of the beats have to be tight. There's beat knocking, right? So there's two in particular that I dug. One, I got to do my wedding reception, was Scratch Master L, and then the other is Cut Master Slice. That's right, Cut Master Slice. I remember Centipede, DJ Centipede, who is now in North Carolina. I interviewed him for one of our shows from TFR talk entitled "Let's Talk DJing," and I interviewed him about his longevity in it, right? And I remember walking in on a party that he was throwing, right, at the Colosseum. That people very called it the Coliseum on 72nd and Euclid, but it was the Colosseum. That's the way it was spelled. And so I walked in there and I hear this guy on the wheels, and he's cutting and back and forth on quarter turns, keeping the beat seamless, cutting and blending in, locking it down on the one. And I'm like, I said, Centipede, who is that kid? 'Cause I was on the dance floor, and you know, being that I'm a DJ, if a DJ skips or something, I'm like, oh man, I can't keep the rhythm. What's going on? But this kid had it going. And he was like, I was like, who is that? He said, Cutmaster Slice. Cutmaster Slice and Scratchmaster L are two of the best. I put them up against any DJ, any era, because this is hip hop music, any time I put them up against. And then the one here is the infamous DJ Remix. I also interviewed him for Let's Talk DJing TFR. And his ability to keep a crowd moving and his knowledge of records, of being able to blend from in and out of soul to hip hop to R&B, right, to classic, whatever it is, he could do it, to cartoons, blending in. That's what hip hop is. He could do that. He's an incredible DJ. So most definitely, you know, I have my favorites, and because I am a DJ, or now I'm a filmmaker, but being I was a DJ of a certain caliber, a high caliber, and enjoy what I do, and I always enjoyed others, you know what I'm saying, what they did, because there was no competition. The only person I competed with, how could I be better than what I did last time? So let's continue on. So that's on that. Thank you, DJ Scratch, for that meme, that slide. Today on FB, we can expect a few selfies in the upper uglies, mid to moderate haters, 95% no chill between, and heavy chance of shade throwing. 95% no chill button, and a heavy chance of shade throwing. I thought that was pretty good, equating FB to the weather report. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. You know what I'm saying? What's happening on FB to the weather report. Okay, yeah, here we go. Go on right here.
That is so true. Actually, that's daily, not just today. That's very clever, equating that with the weather report. But I remember, well, you know, you experience different things online media, on social media. And, you know, people get a lot of courage that they wouldn't have in your face on social media. And I remember one time somebody said something fly to me. I said, you know, there's nothing, we in the same city. There's nothing here. All we got to do is get in our cars and meet up, you know, because that's where I took it there, because I knew that person was not going to, and if they had a call the bluff, that's fine too. I got it. But it's just that sometimes people need to be regulated. They do. They really need to be regulated. People say any old thing in writing, online. They say things, they do things. And I say what some of them need is a visit. That's what some of them need. And that'll help them tone that down some. That's true, though. But the haters are the haters. You don't want to, I mean, a lot of people, their hateration is actually an envy that is really a compliment. It's a compliment that they envy you, because it's something that falls slacking in them. But for the other people, shade throwers and stuff like that, you don't want to get into pettiness. But sometimes just for the kick of it, just ask them, well, What do you want to do about this? Because it seems like it's a big problem for you. So how do you propose that we solve your issue?
You know, hating is the biggest form of adulation. They really love you because, you know, in Cleveland, many of us love to hate what we love. We will love, I always talk about the Tupac story, but they cried like a baby. But when he first came, when Digital Underground, they were smacking his ankles with the little hand towels that they had passed out with the Digital Underground logo on them. But they love that dude. You know, they love R. Kelly. They love all these people. They love Mary J. They love Cat Williams. They love him. But they love to hate. And so, you know, hate is the greatest form of adulation, right? Let's keep moving. If you are a giver, learn your limits because takers don't have any. If you are a giver, learn your limits because takers don't have any. You have to smash the share button, smash the like button because we are going somewhere today like we always do. This is episode 44. We have based the foundation on episode 1 through 43, and now we are moving on into new areas to discuss. If you are a giver, learn your limits because takers don't have any. And when you're talking about the music industry, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Know your limits because takers will try to take. And we've already talked about the adulation from the haters. And here's another one, right? This comes from a DJ. DJ Highlife from out of Cleveland, Ohio. He's also a good blender, right? Throw FB a bottle of water cause they thirsty. Flagging videos I did 4 years ago. Too late. My folks done jammed to them already. Wink. Look, FB is on this ride, like taking down videos left and right that don't necessarily meet their policy. You know, not ones to shy away from, not the controversy, but the reality of what it is. We will say something about it, right? We will say something about it because it's not only affecting DJs, it is affecting other people who are dropping their information. Which brings us to the rubber hitting the road, right? We're talking about Snap, right? We're talking about Snap. But first we have to get into some definitions, but we are definitely talking about Snap. The era between 1990 and 96, right? So we're going to do some definition, then we're going to get right there. But smash the share button, smash the like button. We're going to be getting to it. So let's get into these definitions real quick, right? So let's start with these definitions, right? We talked about probability and possibility, and there's also opportunity. So we're going to look at the definitions of probability because the show is Snap, Turkey Jams, Toni, possibilities and probabilities, right? So what is the possibility and the probabilities of getting into the music business? So let's look at definitions. Let's look at what probability is. The extent to which something is probable. The likelihood of something happening or being the case. Secondary, a probable or the most probable event. Now, what is the difference between probability and possibility? Possibility, a thing that may happen or be the case. A thing that may happen or be the case, right? Probability is something happening or being the case, right? Secondary, the state or fact of being likely or possible. Likelihood. Third, a thing that may be chosen or done out of several possible alternatives. A thing that may be chosen or done out of several possible possibilities. Now, what is opportunity? Opportunity, a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. A set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. A chance for employment or promotion. A chance for employment or promotion. Okay, let's start right here. So that's one definition. Carve it down. So we're going to come to the next one, right? In a second. But this is where we begin. We begin with the snap and the snap story, because we all have a snap story, right? We have I used to DJ this record, you know what I mean, at the parties, snap. For those who don't know that, it was a song, I got the power, break my heart. It was all during the club, and my sister's gonna break it down more for you, right? But okay, so it's 1990. Your boy, yours truly, just graduated from high school, and he's in this summer program down at Cleveland State called the class program. That's where you go down and you stay in the dormitory over the summertime, and when you finish, you would be like a super freshman, right? You would know what everything was on the campus, whereas everyone else coming would be like, you know, deer in headlights trying to figure out what everything was. And they would ask you, are you a sophomore or something? No, I'm a freshman, but you know, we were in this program, right? Okay. So we're talking about possibility, probability, and opportunity, right? So what was the probability that I was going to get into the program? Because my mother had found out about the program. Now, I graduated from Trinity High School, and just my opinion, the guidance counselor wasn't doing much guidance towards the American black students. Matter of fact, the guidance counselor tried to get me 2 days before graduation. You know, I had took typing in junior high school, so I knew all my home keys. I type about 175 words per minute, maybe even faster now. You know, and my chicken scratch, I often talk about my writing. My penmanship is horrible because I do more typing. But I had learned that all the way back in junior high school, 7th, 8th grade, right? So by the time I got to Trinity High School, I said, well, let me take this computer class and learn computers and not take the mandatory typing, because I already know you had a choice. They gave you a choice, right? So I took the computer class to learn about computers. Came in handy, I'll say. So 2 days before graduation, the guidance counselor, who will remain nameless, calls me down to the guidance office. Now, I haven't been in the guidance office all 4 years, except for when they took us on a tour and said, this is your guidance counselor for all 4 years, right? Because each freshman class got a different fresh guidance counselor, right? And this was ours in this particular room. And that's the only time I saw her in the hallway and everything. And she would come into classes to talk about general possibilities, right? So my mother had found out about the class program. She said, go talk to your guidance counselor, because, see, my mother was on it. My sister would tell you. My mother was on it to get us the best education possible. Our mother was on it. You know what I mean? She was on it. If she had to take you out the public schools and put you into a parochial school situation, or take you out the parochial schools if they were acting up and put you into a public school situation, that's what she did. Because she wanted us to have the best opportunity possible. Side note, CCSD, that's the Clark County School District, is offering a program because there's a shortage in people who are doing construction and engineering, and they're giving these classes free to CCSD students to make a ready-made workforce. And that came on the news, and they only have 200 students signed up. There's only 3%. 3%. And so I put that across. I put it out all across the Black Las Vegas page on Facebook. And I said, American Black should be all over this, because engineering in particular can take you around the world. Construction also. Especially if you're engineering and construction and you're designing, you're going across the globe. So, you know, myself, I don't have children, but I look out for the children. Though if they act up, like when our niece and nephew were young, we say if we had any problem, we go take our niece and nephew. If we ever long for some children, we take them. As soon as they acted up, time to return them. There you go. So that's the luxury of not having kids. Just a little sidebar there. So I look out for American Black children, because we don't want American Black children having to do what they are doing over in the continent of Africa or the islands of Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, etc., 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 etc. We want them to have. So all the parents have to do is sacrifice those 18 years, and your children will be up and ready to stand on their own too. Okay, so that was a little side note about today, in contrast to when I was coming up and what my mother did for myself and what she did for my sibling, my sister here, right? So look. So she calls me down, the guidance counselor, who will remain nameless, calls me down to the office, to the guidance counselor office. And she says, well, you didn't take typing. You might not, I don't think that you're going to be able to graduate. I don't think that you're going to be able to graduate because you didn't take typing, and that was a mandatory. And you took this elective, which was computer programming or whatever it was. And I looked at her, I said, well, I said, you know, I took typing in junior high school, right? So then she calls the higher up over her, calls him, and he comes. So I held the last part of what I had to say, right? Because only a person who actually knew typing would be able to say this phrase. And I held it. I'm thinking, because why she was trying to give me, you know how people watch you from afar and what you're doing may not seem to affect them, but if they are, in my opinion, my thought process, a bigot, then what you're doing, and I was a person that wasn't a rabble rouser, but I didn't like what I was seeing at a predominantly Polish high school, Catholic school. We're talking about being Christians, but you're not acting like Christians towards the small group of blacks that were there. And so I started organization, etc., etc. So you never know who's actually watching you. So my thought on this, she was trying to get me at the end so I wouldn't be able to walk the stage. She could have called me in at the beginning of the school year and said, you know what, you might need to take this typing class, and now we'll be able to tell her again. So she calls the higher up over her, and he comes in the room. And she says to him, well, he says he took typing in junior high school. Now, she can see my record. My record is right there on the page, right? So he says, you say you took typing. I said, yeah, take me to a typewriter. I'll show you the home keys. I said, take me to a typewriter. I'll show you the home keys. He looked at me. He looked at her. He said, wave it. You got to know what you're dealing with. You got to know what type of racist you are dealing with. Because if that hadn't solved it, then I would have just made a call to 921. And it would have been over. Because both parents would have blew down on them and said, how come you didn't do this? Incompetence. We work in organizational fields, and this is disorganized, and there's no way my son's not going to cross the stage. But you have to learn to handle this yourself and have the ability and the syntax and the vocabulary to be able to put across to these people, because they do not mean you any good, even if you didn't even know that they were watching you, but they are. And they mean you no good. They said, wave it. You should have seen him. His neck turned red. She pressed her lips together, and then
I bet she
waved
did.
it. And I graduated on time across the stage. Sayonara, Trinity High School forever. So anyway, but I got the education I needed, right? So look, it's 1990, and so I went to the guidance counselor. So that was at the end of the year. This was like maybe a month, 2 months before. You had to register 2 months before graduating. So I went to her, and she knew about the class program, but she wasn't calling any of the black students in. I had to come to her. Is that good job? Good? So, because you had to get a reference from a guidance counselor. So she gave the reference, right? And then my mother had said, you got to call this man at a certain time and talk to him at a certain time. And so I asked to be excused from the class, and I went down, dialed the number, asked to speak to the person who was the head of the program. And I talked to him. He said, well, you're in. You sound good, Mr. I'm going to say Mr. D. Mr. D, you sound good. And so, yeah, you're in. And so you will be reporting, such. So graduation, we're in the dormitory, right? So what was the probability of me being in the class program under those circumstances? It would be 0, except for my mom was always creating opportunity for her 2 children and pushing the probability needle. And that's what being a parent is. And even if you did not know that child was coming, and you feel that the child is somewhat slowing you down, it is behoove and it is your duty to make sure that your child has a better experience and a better life than you have. And so you do everything possible to get them up from under the foot of people. 213-943-3358. And that's what our mother did. Now, so the probability would have been 0, except for she constantly continued made opportunity for us. So the probability went higher. Once I was in the dormitory, there was a mentor there from the Alphas, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, 1906. Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson was in the dorm, and he came to the dorm room and he heard me DJing in the dormitory, and he said, I'm going to get you the Alpha Icebreaker because you're just that good. I had been DJing and blending in the basement, had my first party at 14 years old, but I was blending and honing my craft from 11, all the way up to when I was in college, started college at 19 years old, right? That's 8 years of honing your skill, of listening, of tightening beats, of making things right. He said, I'm going to get you the icebreaker, right? So he got me the icebreaker, and what was the probability of me getting the icebreaker? It was then another person who gave possibility, by opening up the opportunity door by saying, I'm going to get you the icebreaker. And he got that, and we're on the move then. 19 years old, DJing the icebreaker at Cleveland State, 1990. Alpha Phi Alpha. 2,000-3,000 people packed in a banquet hall. The steppers, the alphas, the kalpas stepping, the sigmas stepping, the zetas, there weren't iotas then, the zetas, the AKAs, the deltas, all doing their chants and stepping around in a circle and without missing a beat, blending these records together. Nothing like it. 1990. Now, at the same time, and I am DJing parties, my sister goes down in the fall and she enrolls in Boston, Mass, in the School of Music in Boston, Mass, called, what's that school called? I'll let you take it from here and tell your story as we get to Snap, Turkey Jams, and Toni.
Okay, as he said, at that same time, that fall, I enrolled in Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. Every musician knows that school. It is running neck and neck. It used to be second to Juilliard, but because they have increased their footprint so largely, they are equivalent to Juilliard in New York, right? So I went there, and when I went there, let me backtrack. The year before, I have a friend, a very dear friend that we had attended church with and stuff, and our mothers were friends, or they were comrades, so to speak. And he had said, man, he had gone the year before, and he said, man, you need to come down here. You need to be here. You need to be here. So, I'm the type of person, I don't get too excited about it. Even if I'm excited about stuff, I'm not a groupie type person. I rarely show that excitement on my face. And sometimes I have to explain that to people because they take it wrong. They think I'm not excited or not interested. It's not that. I'm just not going to glorify a whole bunch of stuff. So I went down there the year before and stayed at his aunt's house, and he took me around the city, and we went to the school, and I was like, we went into the school down the main lobby and passed through the practice area where they call the sheds. And they were actually, it was that bark wood on the walls, and they were all soundproofed with that bark wood, and every different instrument was in a shed. And they were, I heard the sax player in the shed, the trumpet player, the piano player. Sheds had pianos. And I'm like, wow, drummer in the shed. And I'm moving around. It was just the culture, the environment. This was a whole separate entity unto itself. And I'm like, wow, I do need to be here. Because I was playing in a local band at the time. I had spent 5 years with that band, and I played 9 months with another local band in between that time. But I'm like, if I want to take this to the next level, I need to get out of that local environment. I need to be around those greater than me. I need to, as far as skill level and things like that, I need to be here. This is where I need to be. So I waited that next year. I saved up some money, and then my parents, they invested in that for me on my first semester. And I found myself down there. This was my first time leaving home and everything. Now, I had another school I was looking at. I was looking at Grove School of Music in Van Nuys, California, which is a suburb of LA. But I didn't. It was my first time leaving home. I didn't want to be that far away, all the way across the country. So I chose Berklee. And plus, the edge was, it was somebody there I knew. So that was the edge. So I went to Berkeley, and when I got there, it was just like from the time the train pulled into the city and I got off that train and walked down in the lobby, main lobby, all the kids, people are getting out of taxis, people getting out of buses, and everybody is meeting and coming down and congregating into the main lobby. And they're telling us, well, tomorrow you're going to go to your financial aid appointments and all of that stuff. But here's the cafeteria. So everybody's herding down to the cafeteria. And we down in the cafeteria. And the only thing they had on a salad bar was Thousand Island dressing. I had never had Thousand Island dressing. I was like, what is this? I don't even like how this looked, Thousand Island dressing. And it was funny. I put a little bit of the Thousand Island dressing on my salad and took a forkful. I was like, the Big Mac. Because that's the special sauce. I never knew it. I never knew it until I had that salad with that Thousand Island dressing. That was the special sauce on the Big Mac, only it was cold. I was like, this is the Big Mac. And everybody was looking at me like, what's wrong with her? But I was like, that was an epiphany. It was like, wow, that's the Big Mac special sauce. All those years, I never knew that. I never knew it. Did anybody ever say that the special sauce was Thousand Island dressing? Did we ever hear that anywhere? Because I never heard it. And we didn't buy Thousand Island dressing here, so I didn't know nothing about Thousand Island dressing. So we went from there, and I started meeting all these people who had been there a couple of years already. Some of them had already recorded projects and albums and had them out, and they just had to finish school. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do? Because I went through the music production and engineering thing where they're doing the mixing and stuff. I'm like, man, I might want to do that. Then the film scoring room, which is like the music production and engineering room, but yet it's film, music set to film and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, and I'm like, this is how I am on the inside. If you could have seen my insides, I'm probably looking like this, but I'm my usual cool self. I'm just walking around and stuff like that. And then when we're talking about possibilities, probabilities, and opportunities. So I got the opportunity to go to Berkeley by way of my parents helped me. I had saved some money. I had the opportunity by being exposed to the school. The probability then becomes greater. Well, the possibilities become greater, and then they shift into probabilities as you position yourself. So as I move from a local band situation, which is limiting, to a situation where there's people from all over the world literally coming to this school, all over the world, in a town where is the largest college town in the world. You had Emerson University, which is a film school, which now they have joint classes with Berkeley. That's dope. You have Boston University. You have Boston College. You have New England Conservatory. You have Northeastern University. You have Harvard. You have MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. All of these are within a short mile distance of one another. All of them are like it's a nucleus. Now Harvard and MIT were a little further away to travel, but all the rest of those colleges were within a mile of each other, a mile or two. And so you have all of this integration of students. It's a college town. All of these boutiques and shops and stuff like that. And so your possibilities increase as you position yourself in an environment that lends itself to more opportunities. So the possibilities that those opportunities, it makes it more probable that you're going to go into more of what you want to go into because you position yourself in that place. You put yourself there. So I took classes. I was in an arranging major and performance major. And that's mainly what I did, was perform and arrange. So I can arrange for strings, and I'm talking about live strings. I can score for strings. I can score for horns. Now we got software. We don't have to do it longhand. I can do it longhand though. So I know the voicings of horns, the different horns. I can arrange for string sections and a full 5-piece band in an R&B type situation. So keys, percussion, drums, writing out rhythms, writing out syncopations and stuff. I could do all that longhand, though with technology, we don't have to do that anymore. You just speak it or key it in and, and then print it out, hit a button and print it out, and you have your score. But so I did a couple of projects there, student projects and things for other students. I wound up singing on somebody's project, and I'm not even really a singer. I can hold a tune. My main instruments are piano and flute. And now I have percussion under my belt as well. But I was not really a singer, not that singer, but I can hold a tune. I'm good with harmonic arrangement, background arrangement, and stuff like that. So I did a couple of projects, and one project was an original song that I had written, and I wrote it to the specification. Like, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with this whole arrangement in my head, like for every instrument, and I got to writing. Everything. Then I had my boy, my friend that was there, who was a horn player and also arranged for horns. I had him check over my horn arrangements to make sure that they were correct and voice correct and everything. And so it was cool. And we did this thing. I called them into this rehearsal, all the instruments, the people I picked, and I had my boy on bass that I introduced me to Berkeley. And we had a little riff because, I had horns doing something like, and but it was faster than that. It was it was like that. And I had some instruments descending chromatic, and all chromatic means is if you take a keyboard and you just go white key to black key, white key to black key, white key to black key. That's a chromatic scale. So for every instrument, it would be like that. So I had some instruments going and then I had some going so some was ascending, some was descending, while the horns was going and then I had on my keyboards I was going and he was, so my friend looked at the score, he was like, "This is gonna clash." So we already on the wrong foot here. So I was like, just play it like I wrote it. Just play it. And he was like, "That's gonna clash. I'm telling you, it's gonna clash." I'm standing there 10 minutes arguing about this piece. Now I'm getting really ticked off because the momentum is up. I'm ready to really hear how this is gonna come together at this ending, because this ending is climactic, and I'm trying to get to it. And I'm arguing with him. I said, "Look, either you're gonna play this line the way I wrote it, or I'm gonna go down here to the sheds and get one of them Japanese bass players to come down here. Japanese be on it. I'm gonna go down here and get one of these Japanese players to play this part." So he was like, "Fine, but I'm telling you, it ain't gonna work." Okay, it ain't gonna work. So we got to the end, and that culmination of that ending, the trumpet player threw his trumpet player threw his trumpet on the floor, was like, "Woo!" He threw his trumpet on the floor and ran out the room. He ran back in the room. He was like, "That is funky." He was like, "Did you write that?" I said, "Yeah, I wrote it." I said, "Look, man, I'm from the George Clinton Parliament Funkadelic School. I'm from the School of Funk. I'm from Ohio. Ohio, Funk grows on spores here. It's a spore of funk in Ohio. We just are born with that in our blood. We just funky in Ohio. The DJs are funky. Everybody's funky. The instruments are funky. You know, there's some bands here now. They took things to an, there's 2 bands here. The Funk Yard, like right now, there's a band here called the Funk Yard and another band called, what's the name of that band? I just saw them a couple of weeks ago. I will put them against any Minneapolis bands. I will put them against any bands anywhere. These people are smoking. So that was the beginning of my experiences there, and it culminated into something else.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So now, it's 1990, and I start producing, not only doing fraternity parties. I did the Alphas. I did the Kappas. I did the sororities also. I did the Deltas, the AKA. That's a whole nother story to that. We'll get to that one day. So I'm doing that. Then I start doing my own parties with a group called Home Team Productions. And the purpose of Home Team Productions was to raise money to go into the studio to produce records. That was the whole point of Home Team Productions. I DJ'd. I had the 2 dudes sitting at the front door collecting the money. I never actually really got to see how the crowd was coming in, but I saw how we packed the Coliseum out, like 1,000 count arena, no tables, just chairs along each side. 2,000 people packed in there. We're rocking out, right? So we're doing these parties, and then we come up and I go to the studio and I produce with acts, right? So I produce music with acts. And, we're doing this. So this is like between 90 and 93, right? And so we hit some things, something like this right here.
Taking a regular new mind frame, I'm catching a migraine, my brain strange. Sniper J, the lyrical shooter, J at pertains. Conspiracy fearing me, other cities they don't wanna hear me. Signing booty, New York cruise, but none are coming near me. Not a staircase, so in case you wanna step up, I'm stopping and rubbing and pumping the funk. Hey, shut the F up. Cleaners in the house, you can't doubt, so put us out. Rising from the Midwest, yes, that's what we're all about. Whether we chill, act ill, or pack steel, there's no killing what can't be killed. Other cities feel crazy deep, produce the rhythms that are hyping a snipe. But let me pass it to Gay Naughty, cause I'm giving the mic up.
I hate cops, I still not give much props, cause I put not so rock, but the funky hip-hop. Higgity happens in the place, I can't stop. Higgity stepping on the surface till I reach the top. Cause I'm bumping in the city called C-Town. Wanna be down, bring that ass round and listen to the bass sound, cause this what you get, don't get pissed when we miss. ACB get you see, cause this song we rip on. So stop the silly seal and please don't get ill, for there's no killing what can't be killed. Don't get in what can. 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 Don't get in what can.
Trapped like an animal in a cage. Damn, no room to flex. That's out when I'm on the stage. Cause a radio host won't let the flow come on. Only his big fat family and friends get to make ends. But I ain't sweating it. They gon' be regretting it. Loading up my AK, finding a Zach dog and I'm wetting it. Yeah, I'm a man. Can't play me like a rude boy. Don't rap through or get dropped by the real McCoy. Brother Ray in the mile is how it fits. Cause they keep the rap down with all these powder tricks. But there's no killing what can't be killed. Not respect to the skill. BJ Cole rip and wheel.
They got a hold on us skipping tonight. Yo, are you with me? Chillin' at a plus, they cut me hush while they pointed me. Compressed in my dome, 365 times the fuck. Freaks them ready to freak. You can tell by the grunt. I'm better known now as double down. Been checking my steps. Description stated like a female with concepts. I'm nation that wide, so it's my level. My mental undercover up, so when I come I won't be gentle. To kill a with simulation, my foot up. Break the glass ceiling, then we step on up. Set the trust the physical, heavy duty, extra steel. We're at your back door. There is no killing what can't be killed. Yeah.
Don't get in what can. Don't get in what can. Don't get in what can.
Yeah, Crazy D, the lost tribe. Eliminate those whack MCs. Whack MC. Killer.
MCs get dissected, direction constantly. So don't approach me with your booty ass renditions. It's essential. I flow with disciples, don't leave the microphone bleeding. Proceeding to match these whack MCs that stack G's. You can't fuck with this. I bring ruckus, you better duck it. That nigga named Mr. Pencil erasing motherfucking simple ass poets and two. And Ben Lewis, Chamo, so say the drama for one act and smack the whack ass backwards. Jack the illegitimate foes. I know you're feeling it, hoes. This shit that sound like it's psychomatic. I flow like an addict to the dopeness of the whack MC. Killer, 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 killer. Kill
every time I heard boom, and supervision. You see my rest on my way. Don't get happy, nigga. That shit was back in the day. I used to be up on a paper till I learned to put up, and now I got too much pride. A baby, oh. Wait, nothing but a baby, oh. How low can you go? Breakdown.
How low can you go?
Yeah, you know, so we put out Rapid Succession, and that hit the college airwaves, right? CSB and UJC. Now, this is 93, and the Turkey Jam, WZAK, you hear the reference about the Zack Dog and Brother Ray. You remember Brother Ray, Tanya? Brother Ray,
Yes,
I met
I
him
do.
through the band that you were playing in, and I took him to the studio and we produced There's No Killing What Can't Be Killed. That was the first record. There was 2 male MCs and 2 female MCs because I didn't discriminate. If you sounded good, we're going to take you in there and knock it out, right? So we're doing this so the Turkey Jam comes to town, right? Because every year the Zach WZAK had the Turkey Jam. They still do. And so Toni was coming to town, and I had done a mixtape where I used Anniversary and Substitution, the breakbeat of Substitution. So I had the Substitution breakbeat breaking underneath, and then there's that 16 bar count where they're kind of riffing a little bit and they're just playing the melody, and I had the Substitution rolling all the way through. And then when the downbeat picked back up, it was right on time. So brand new, rest in peace, brand new. He was hanging with Silver B, and what had happened was I knew one of the security people because they knew Crazy D, and we went back. My wife went, and we went back. And if you know how the public auditorium is set up, they have the dressing room. So we went through the dressing rooms. They weren't there. We came back to the long hallway with the 2 doors, and there was Raphael Sadiq standing there. And I handed him the mixtape. I told him, this is my remix of your song, Anniversary, hope you like it. Talked to him, found out, just talked to him a little bit. So Brand New told me, because this was like the next day, because this always taught me one thing about this: always stay till the end. Let it be time for the police officers to lock it up, right? For the people to lock it up. Always stay to the end, because Brand New said that Silver B had sent him out to look for me, but I was nowhere around because they were sitting in one of the rooms at the public hall listening to the mixtape and a radio, and they wanted to talk to me, right? And so they heard it, and then later, Toni went from 1987 to 1999. In 1999, Raphael Sadiq had started a new venture with Ali Sheed Muhammad and the woman Dawn from En Vogue, and they called themselves Lucy Pearl, right? But the element of using hip hop with R&B, they were doing hip hop and R&B somewhat, but they had never seen it sustained where it was a break beat. That was a Cleveland thing. And when you hear a lot of Cleveland elements in music where it's a sustained hard break beat over some R&B tracks, that's a Cleveland thing, and they had never heard that before, and that was what that was, and had we sent to the end. However, now, what was the probability and the possibility and the opportunity of that going if we had stayed to the end? And my sister was over in Berkeley. She's a musician, right? If we had stayed to the end, the whole trajectory, I probably wouldn't have opened up a store until after I had come back from off a tour and then opened a store. So it would have been a different situation. So the name at home wouldn't have been as big as it was, right? But so it's the possibility and the probability, and the probabilities and the possibility changed because we did not stay till the end. But wait, rewind. My sister was at Berkeley, and we might have to have a part 2 to this, right? We probably gonna have to do part 2. But my sister was at Berkeley, right? And she was at Berkeley, and she was making all of these creations and recording with people. But then an opportunity arose. And then after that opportunity, another opportunity would arise that would have put her possibly on stage with in 1993 with Toni, which would have meant that they would say, well, whose tape is that? That's my brother. And then the story would have been different. So let's go through this. Let's talk about the years of Snap. Tell them what Snap is real quick. Make it a quick synopsis, about 4 minutes, who he is, and then let's get into the tour in Japan, the world tour you went on starting in Japan. All right.
Now, the picture that you see in the upper left-hand corner, that's Deron Butler, better known as Turbo B from McKeesport, Pennsylvania. He met the producers from Snap in Germany. He was in the Army, I believe, and he met them there, and he was a rapper. And they put his voice on the track called Power. Now, there was some discrepancy about that track because the producers that put together the one that he was on, there was one that was before that by Chill Rob G. And the name of the song, I believe, for that one was called something else. They changed it to The Power, though, because of that song that came out, The Power, but it was named something else prior to that. That was and that track was sampled. Oh, it was called Let the Words Flow. It was Let the Words Flow, and it was sampled. What Wikipedia says is it was sampled illegally and without permission by the German pop dance group Snap on their hit record, The Power. So after that happened, there was some discrepancy, and I think it was re-released a Chill Rob G under The Power. All right, so we had some stuff going on there. It's convoluted as to what went on, but that's not the capacity that I was in. I was there as a musician. So what happened was at Berkeley, I was playing in this all-female band. And in this all-female band, there was a guitar player named Narita. Narita had played with New Kids on the Block. She had toured with New Kids on the Block, and the tour manager, or no, he was a roadie. It was a roadie for New Kids on the Block, whose name was Johnny. Johnny called her up, and he had then become the tour manager for Snap, for this version of Snap. And so he asked her, he said, they're interested in having an all-female band. And do you know some people that will want to play? So it kind of just, it was an opportunity that just fell in my lap. Because to be honest with you, I didn't even know who they were. I mean, at the time, you had several groups that sounded alike, and it was hard to tell the difference. You had Snap, you had CNC Music Factory, you had Black Box, you had Mantronics, and you had Two in a Room, and I'm sure it was some other ones, because we ran into Two in a Room when we was on the Japanese tour. So she asked me would I be interested in going and playing. And I said, okay. So I listened to the music, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, I wasn't too particular about it because I was an old school keyboard. I'm used to bands where every instrument is playing. And I could tell from listening to that, there was a lot of new technology that I had not necessarily come into yet. There was a lot of MIDI, and MIDI is where you're connecting, you're syncing one keyboard to another keyboard and blending different sounds, or syncing to another sound effects rack so that you're producing other sounds. And I hadn't come into that yet. I was crossing right out of analog. So, you know, the old Juno 60s, Juno 106, the old Prophet 5s, and those keyboards and stuff like that, those were all analog keyboards where you tweaked the knobs and you created your own sounds yourself in the analog keyboard. So I was used to that. But with this evolution of MIDI, like with the Korg M1 was one of the first MIDI boards and stuff like that, popular MIDI boards. So I had to get used to all that stuff, and I had to get used to it quickly, but I didn't let it intimidate me. You know, that I didn't know that stuff. I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead on. I'm going to get this. I called my mother up and I told her, I said, well, I'm not going to enroll in the fall semester because I'm going to go on tour with this group. She wasn't necessarily in agreement with it. Typical of most parents, you know, your education is first. Your education is first. I thought to myself, though, I said, this is an opportunity that could lead to something else. If I don't take it now, when am I going to take it? You know, I can always come back to school. You know, the money is there, so I can always come back to school. So I said, I'm going to go on and go. And so getting prepared to go, of course, I already had a passport because some years before in the local band, we had won a battle of the bands and was supposed to go to Japan with that winning. And I already had a passport. So I didn't have to get a passport. I had to have my mom send me my passport. And so we started doing the rehearsals there. This was a lot of firsts for me. It was my first time on a plane because for the 2 weeks, we had to fly to Orlando, California to rehearse with the band and stuff. So it was me, Narita on guitar, I was on keys, and another keyboard player from Berkeley. She was a jazz keyboard player named Paula. So it was the three of us that left together and went to Orlando to rehearse those first 2 weeks. During that time, Penny Ford, who was the original voice on The Power, got into some kind of disagreement with Turbo, and she said, I'm not going. So she quit, and they were in a quandary because this tour had already been paid for. This was a Pepsi Cola Reebok sponsored tour, and so the checks had already been paid to the people. So, and I think that was what the discrepancy was. She hadn't gotten her money, and but he had bought a house and a few other things, and she didn't have no money from the advance, right? So so that's what that was. And so somebody opened their big mouth and told them I could sing, and I'm like, hey, so they were offering more money. I'm like, cool. But then, now I was inexperienced. I was not a unionized musician. I wasn't in the musicians union. And so I didn't really know how much I was supposed to be getting. We didn't have Google and stuff like we have now. So I didn't know how much I was supposed to be getting. The initial agreement was I was getting $1,000 a week plus an extra $250 a week per diem for incidentals, meals, and stuff like that, which I never had to spend that because wherever we went, we were always being accommodated. But so basically $1,250 a week And so they called me saying, well, you know, we'll add another $250 onto your salary if you go on and do the singing. I was like, it was like, how's that sound? I said, well, that don't sound good because I'm pulling double duty. And for me, it's not as easy to sing and play at the same time. And I'm like, that doesn't sound too good. I'm going to need y'all to round that up. I just threw a figure out there because I didn't know how much I was supposed to get. So I just said, I'm going to need y'all to round that up to $2,000 a week. That's what I'm going to need. Well, they were stuck between a rock and a hard place. They didn't have nobody else. They couldn't get nobody else. He was hard to get along with, being a Taurus male. His birthday was 8 days after mine. So he was hard to, but me and him got along fine. He just was temperamental with them. He and I got along just fine though. So they gave it to me and we went on the tour. And our first, before going to Japan, that was the first landing. We had to have a 2-day layover in Hawaii. And while we were there, you know, there were some things that transpired there. And then we made our way across the waters in Japan. Now, mind you, this is my first times on a plane. I'm taking international trips. These are long trips too, y'all. The flight to Japan was 9 hours from Hawaii on a plane. And then when we left Japan, we went to Australia. Well, it wasn't as long of a flight from Japan, but coming back to the States from Australia, that's clear across the world. That's like if I left here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday and got over there, it would be Saturday again, and it would be like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's clear across the globe. So, and you get jet lag and you lose a day. It's like you're discombobulated. So we went to New Zealand. After Australia, New Zealand is a 3-hour flight away from Australia. So we went to those 3 places. It was a Pepsi Cola sponsored and Reebok sponsored tour. And I met a lot of people. I met Hall & Oates. I met Eddie Money. There were some TV stars like Blair Underwood and his wife. I met Bull from Night Court. Remember the tall, goofy guy from Night Court? I met him. He was the nicest guy. Richard Mall, that's his name. He was the nicest guy. I took a picture with him. I met, who else? Ray Parker Jr., a bunch of different people I met and participated in a jam session in the lobby of the hotel in Australia where they were elevating Olivia Newton-John's comeback. And so that day it had been a tennis tournament for the stars, and Olivia Newton-John, that was her home country and everything. She was making a comeback, so they were blending that in with the tour. We got tennis shoes, you know, we got us some Reebok tennis shoes, we got Pepsi Cola stuff, and it was 15. That particular audience was 15,000 people, and an outdoor performance. And these people was going wild over this group. Remember, I didn't even know who they were before I went on tour with them. So these people are going crazy over this group. They screaming and stuff like Michael Jackson or something. You know, they just screaming. And it just so happens that the bass player from the Commodores lived in New Zealand, but he was there for that. And he was there at the performance and was saying how good the performance was. He had married a woman over there. That's why he lived there. But it was a good experience. But 15,000 people. It's just when you look out, you don't even see the faces. It's just a sea of people. 15,000 people. So, but in Japan, though, remember, if y'all remember, any of you who are old enough to remember the Power video, there was a set of twins. And I think they were in other videos by Snap too, a set of twin guys, twin brothers. And they were dark skinned and bald head and nice bodies and everything. And so that's who people were looking for on this tour. Somehow Johnny's wife, the tour manager's wife, had been in charge of getting dancers for the for the tour, she decided to go to Walt Disney and get this set of twins. What was those girls' names? I forget, but they were clearly not the dancers from the video. They were blonde hair, blue eyed, and so that was a set of twins. And they had a separate woman that kind of favored them, and she was a little bit older than them. She was a dancer too. So you got all this blonde hair up here, and the Japanese people were like, block dancers, block dancers, block dancers. They wanted to see the dancer. And so that was the first opportunity. And then what happened was I came back. We went to those places. Our next stops was supposed to be Nigeria and Mexico. During that time, though, and I'll tell you why. As soon as D comes in with his commentary, I'll tell you why. But they dropped me from the tour. I'm going to tell you why they did that.
So they drop you from the tour, and then another opportunity comes up, right? We're going to make this a part 2 because we only got 18 minutes up. So we're going to make this, we may stretch this out because there's more going on. You know that phrase is a parallelism. Why she's doing this, I'm over here in Cleveland, Ohio doing the thing. So we're going to keep this going. But another opportunity comes up. They dropped there from the tour. Another opportunity comes up for Toni, or Tone, as some people say, right? Now, so to get the full understanding of what's happening, remember we said possibilities and probabilities, and is there divine intervention that steps in that keeps one away from the probability of possibility of coming into a bad situation. So this right here is from the documentary Loyalty, No Royalty, the breakup of Toni, the documentary. It is on YouTube in its entirety along with outtakes. So this is what this was. And remember I told you in 93 they came and Tanya could have been with them, and then it could have been a whole nother turn. Or I could have, if I had stuck around to the end, then I would say, well, you know, I got a sister that plays keyboard. She just came off the Snap tour, you know, and then they would be like, oh, yeah. Well, then let's see this. So this is what's happening. This is about a 7-minute piece. We're going to stop in between, give some commentary. Then we're going to pick up probably again tomorrow and pick up and continue on with the narrative here. Here we go.
This 6-member group from Oakland, California, also known as the Tonys, had their foot on the gas and showed no signs of slowing down.
It was a chemistry. Toni had a perfect chemistry. Toni. They were a hybrid to us.
You know what, though, Ju? But we had conversations about that, though. Me, Ray, and Tim, I remember that verbatim. And, you know, we used to say, no, man, we ain't gonna never be like that, man. You know, like how these guys, you know, break up. And it's like, no, man, we're gonna stay together as a union.
How many of you, first of all, I cut it down to 7 minutes. This is an hour or something. So I cut the best parts, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm an editor. That's what I do. So we cut to get the story, the main story. How many of you knew that Toni was a 6-man group and not a 3-man group with a back band? How many of you knew that? Right? We surely didn't know. All we know is it never rains in Southern California. That's when me and my wife met in 1990, Dormitory, and that album was on repeat on my turntables in the dormitory. Let's go on.
The group started off, you know, it was Ray, Tim, and Dwayne, and Carl was actually always was a musical foundation.
Right around the corner is where Raphael stayed. You know? Right? My sister them stayed right here. And he stayed right there. So as a kid, he used to come over our house. We had all the instruments and stuff. He used to be mesmerized. And I had a group in high school called Spicy. And James Pugh, my partner, and Antron, and John Payne, and Brian Meter. That was the band. My cousin T. Hatter and his friend Trent came up to my school. They was coming back and forth every now and then. So they came and stole a couple of my band members, which was John Payne and Antron to join Hot Water. So they somehow got Raphael and Tim to join Hot Water. So it's now Raphael, Tim, Antron, and John Payne. So and you had a couple guys from Hayward, Trent, and Derek Graham, Larry Graham's son. So they formed Hot Water. But I was cool. I supported them, you know what I'm saying? I was cheering them on. Like I said, I wasn't pissed off for some damn reason. I don't know why. I should have been pissed off about that, but I wasn't. So I support them. And so that ran its course. Then Ray, Tim, and Carl hooked up to go play with Sheila E.
Raphael went to an audition with Sheila E. And he made the audition. So she asked him, did he have any other young musician friends?
You see how they always ask, is there anyone else? This is a, take some notes on this. This is the way that it works, right? So listen to what my sister said that they asked the bass player, were there any other female musicians that wanted to play? They always go through the talented one because they know that more talent is alongside that talent. That's the way this works. So listen to the unceremonious way that after it was over, they were discharged. Listen to this. It's not just something that happened with Snap. It happens with all musicians that are back band members. Here we go. Listen.
That played. And so Timothy Riley and myself went to the audition. He said, man, they want y'all to come down. So we went down and auditioned. And they had already picked the musicians for the tour. And so they fired those guys that same day and hired me and Tim. Went on tour, did the Lionel Richie Dancing on the Ceiling tour. And then from that, we jumped and did the Under the Cherry Moon tour with Prince. Then we all got fired. And they gave us some McDonald applications. They said, they passed it out and gave it to each member in the band. They said, y'all gonna need this, so y'all go and look for some jobs. So then we got home, and Dwayne I guess he had always had this idea of Toni. So
Dwayne came up with the name Toni with his meaning. I'm not gonna repeat it because it still don't make no fucking sense, but he came up with it, and it stuck.
That's what we should have named ourselves, Family Affair. It was just a nickname for an attitude and a dress code that we had and the way we would act when we went out. So we had to come up with a name for that, and we just decided Toni. It seems like a character.
That's kind of how Toni started, and then all the rest of the guys, we all came together with Elijah and Antron. It was the original 6.
Levi Caesar helped produce the first demo. Prince guitarist and bassist, and a good friend of ours.
Actually, Levi Caesar on guitar right here is the guy who's responsible for my career. When I played with Sheila E., he put me in the Sheila E. band. Thank you, Levi.
We was more on that funky tip. We was more on that Prince Revolution.
The name of the single again?
The name of the single was One Night Stand. It was horrible. It was horrible, but we played that shit like it was We Are the World.
Raphael and Elijah are first cousins. If I show you a picture of Raphael's mother and Elijah's father, they look like twins.
I mean, I know that had to hurt, man. They literally locked y'all in the limousine.
Shut the door on us and told us they'd be back. And we like, what you mean you be back? But we like, you know, all right. And when we stepped that motherfucker, it was cricket. It wasn't a cockroach outside. It wasn't no birds chirping. It was nothing going on. We was out there looking like some damn fools by ourselves.
So what the documentary says is that they had a deal on the table for Toni for $6 million. They lock the 3 members who are the band in the room, and they go to this contract, and when they come out, they each, as the front men get $2 million each. Now these are first cousins, right? Let's continue.
mad at the motherfucker walking a quarter mile to go play on that same stage. The motherfucker left his own.
What was the atmosphere like on the stage when y'all was playing?
The party was so good. I can only speak for myself. It was a blur at that time. I just got involved because it was hype. You know, it was good. So, but when I got off that stage, I wasn't happy. But on that stage, I was happy.
Did anybody confront the three? Any of the three?
I'm sure we said something, but
you just don't remember.
It wasn't no reaction. You know what I'm saying? It was like, so what? And we wouldn't have did that. We'd have made sure, hey man, where the rest of the guys? You know what I'm saying? I can 100% tell you I'd have done that. So for them not to do that, that let us know that. Like I said, I always thought they looked at me like they was doing me a fucking favor.
Me and Elijah Baker both got kicked out the group at the same time. It affected him in a different way than it affected me. He didn't take it as hard as I did.
Oh, you see,
I took it hard because, number one, if you're doing any job, most jobs, if you're doing something wrong that's displeasing them, somebody comes to you, a supervisor, a boss says, listen, you got to step your game up or else we're talking about letting you go. I know I never got that. Rumor was said then that Ray didn't like me and my cousin Timmy didn't like Elijah. I don't know how true it is.
Back in them days, they had cahoots, you know what I'm saying? Relationships that we didn't know nothing about. Nobody
kicked out the group for him, took him and plunged him to the deep end, and he, not this guy, but the previous guy that was talking, because this is Elijah, first cousin to Raphael. He went on the deep end and drowned his sorrows by taking drugs. This is how rough this business is when you're let go and you don't know why you're let go. You know, no chance, but it was something about it. It's just something about the business and the industry. It's opportunity, possibility, and probability.
I wasn't fooled with it, and I couldn't understand. I went to about 3 or 4 different attorneys, high powered, like, here go the proof right here. We owe this. And they're like, and man, I got discouraged and I just said, fuck it. You left before me and Tron.
Yes, I did. I left before you and Tron did.
So on your way out,
yeah,
how come you didn't pull out coattail for better representation? Because you seen the writing on the wall.
Oh, I saw the writing on the wall, but I didn't have any idea. I didn't know that you guys were asked to sign off out of that Toni Incorporated deal. I didn't know that at the time.
I was in a studio with Carl. When he's looking at this document, I'm like, yo, why don't you get a lawyer? Man, this is my brothers, I trust them. Same way with Antron and Tim. Their parents are siblings. So you're not gonna think as a 15, 16, 17-year-old that I need to have somebody look at this because they may be lying to me. Never think that.
So you see what was happening when that opportunity. Let's talk about that opportunity real quick that you had to coming from off the Snap tour. How soon afterwards, and then what made you decide to turn it down? Because you turned it down.
Yeah, we're gonna fast forward to that, and then we'll pick back up on the details tomorrow. So, I got a call from Parker Bartlett at the Berklee College of Music ensemble office, and it seems that she was the person in the office that people would go through when they were calling up for musicians, recommended musicians for tours. So she called me. She got in touch with me. She called Tower Records and got me on the phone because I had went back to my job at Tower Records at that time. And she got me on the phone. She told me who she was. She said, hey, listen. She said, you know, Toni. I said, yeah. And she said, well, they are looking to put together an all-female backing band for this particular tour that they're on. Are you interested? And I said, I said, well, how much? I said, how long is the tour going to be? She said, well, 3 months. And then after that, they don't know how long it's going to be after that. And I said, oh, okay. She said, all I'm going to need you to do is send me a headshot and a bio. And then they're going to start doing rehearsals out in Oakland in a couple of weeks. I said, oh, okay. And she said, they'll fly you out there and whatever. So basically, it wasn't no tryout. It wasn't no nothing. All I had to do was send that, and I was a shoe-in for the gig. I'm like, wow, this is how this works. So, but I got to thinking about it. And when I had come off the tour, that was kind of disappointing. Like when they dropped me from the tour, it was disappointing. And we'll go back tomorrow as to why. And, you know, my thing is always being happy at what I'm doing. I'm fulfilled, you know, being happy, what I'm going to be fulfilled at. So I was at Tower. Tower wasn't paying but $250 a week, but Tower had a lot of perks. You know, it's $250 a week plus health benefits. Plus, you know, I spend most of my time there off work because it was a culture as well. I had a lot of friends there. I loved the environment. I loved Tower, right? And I said, well, do I want to leave Tower and go on another tour just for it to end up like it ended up this time or last time? Because I'm not going to be agreeable to everything. I'm just not. I've never been one of those people that can be bought or sold by money, right? You know, I guess other people's situation is different, but our parents afforded us the type of life that we didn't have to bend over and grab our ankles or anything like that for an opportunity, all right? So I didn't take it like that. So I just said I passed on the opportunity. But what happened was after the 3 months, their album Sons of Soul was out. That was the album with Anniversary on it. The whole album was banging from start to finish, the whole album. And then after the 3 months, Janet picked them up because she had put out her album, Janet. She picked them up for the first leg of her tour. Chucky Booker was her music director. Everybody know I love some Chucky for his production, him being keyboard player, him being funky. I love Chucky, right? So I could have met him. I was looking at after I passed on it, you know, she picked them up for the first 3 months of her tour. The second 3 months, I think she picked up Mint Condition, but the first 3 months was them. And then, you know, after that, their album went platinum. So they were out for 6 more months and they kept the same backing band all of that time. So I could have been out for a whole year with that band, maybe not.
And that's Possibilities and Probabilities, Part 1. Snap, Turkey, Jams, Toni, Possibilities and Probabilities. And we're going to pick up and do Part 2 tomorrow. We're going to keep this going because there's more story to tell, more narrative to tell. So stay tuned for that. This has been Monday. Can you believe it? Episode 44 of #ObservationTFR by Crazy D with my special guest host, my sister Tanya M. Congress. And we will see you tomorrow with Part 2 of this. Stay tuned, smash the like button, share button, and subscribe to the Film Review Live channel on YouTube. We're out.
Here's the thing about your movie, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe. Community, heart.